Welcome to this little tour of New Orleans, and also known as the Big Easy. It has several nicknames, but this is Curran off Reed Boulevard, across the elementary school Little Woods, where I grew up some years. This neighborhood has just become very bad compared to what it was when I lived there. This is also just around the corner. This is the levee, and on the water there were several houses that used to exist on top of that water, built on sticks, wooden sticks. They didn't last long. The water would eventually damage the wood, but got a lot of memories running on this levee, jogging as a kid with my stepfather. This sidewalk and fence never existed in those days. That came later. I recorded this with my Sigma lens. The quality didn't come out as I was hoping, but anyway, this is Magazine Street. When we first moved to New Orleans as a baby, I was only 1 year old. Is where we came to for just a little bit. Before we moved somewhere else. But so much has changed, while other things have stayed the same. This is a unique city. This is the house that I grew up on Gentilly for some years. We lived on the right side, on the right door, with my father, my mom, and my 4 other siblings. There was a bar that existed behind this house that was burnt down when we moved there. So this is the church that was just down the road from the house on Iroquois Street, facing the expressway that you can see there on the right. This church has been here for years. It used to be painted all white. Katrina came and did some damage to the building. This neighborhood was filled with a lot of racial tension back in the days when we lived here. It used to be an all-white neighborhood, but then it changed, and then a lot of crime came in. And if you walked away from this church down the road, you would get beat up. When we would drive away after church, the neighborhood kids would throw rocks at us because they didn't want us in the neighborhood. But through the years, this Hispanic church survived and never left, and the neighborhood changed, where now it's more tolerable. Now it's not as bad as it was when I lived there. This is the inside. It's small, but when I was a kid here, I thought it was way bigger, but it shows you how the perspective of how children view things and how they remember things. But when I went back, I was moved into tears when I came into this room. When I saw the felt on the walls here is the same type of material they used when I was a kid to do the lessons. So the Seventh-day Adventist Church, they keep the Sabbath. They believe that all 10 commandments should be kept, including the 4th commandment, and that Sunday is not the Lord's day, but it is the Sabbath. That's the day that the Lord blessed. Anyway, moving on, this is some of the colorful houses. You notice that the steps to get to the door, there's an elevation. Some of these houses were built like that, and that is a smart way of doing it. If you notice the same thing in this house, and the reason is because there is a lot of flooding that goes on in New Orleans when it rains. The sewage system cannot keep up with all the rain in some places because the city was built underneath the sea level. And so when I lived there, I recollect the floodings that we would see if it would rain for too long. Here, this is the Jackson Square area. This is the church on Jackson Square, the St. Louis Cathedral, where my father took me one time as a kid. And this is the outside picture of it. It's a beautiful building. Um, Andrew Jackson there on the horse. I did some artwork uh, of this picture here. It's a HDR photography that I did. It looks way better than this than I used a program to make a painting out of it. These are
All right, keep it going. You got it.
the can dancers, is what we call them. They put soda cans at the bottom of their shoes, and some of them don't know how to dance, but they do it anyway for money, while some have more skills. Um, Café de Monde. This is a popular coffee and beignets. Excuse me. Open 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. This is another set of kids. Again, you'll see this all throughout the French Quarter. These kids just trying to survive with all the tourists there to collect money. And there's different ways these kids do this. It's not just dancing. So you'll see that. The bridge there was only one of these bridges that existed when I lived there, but then they made a second bridge right next to it. Again, this guy also there for pictures, and they expect you to help them out with some change. These bicycles, you see these unique bikes throughout New Orleans, and the wonderful architecture, the buildings with you gotta really love the design here and the colors. You can pay some of these people to get on these tours here with the carriages around the city. They took a carousel, they carved the horse out, and they cut it in half, and they put lights. You can't see them, but has a battery pack, and this thing glows at night. So I made an artwork out of that one too, and it's hanging in my room. Notice the doors on here. You'll notice that the doors here, they shut with these wooden doors, sealing completely the glass for security at night. And you notice them on the second and third floors. They even have this. These guys came out of this building with the fence. Two interesting characters. The guy in the back was drunk. They were asking me if I was a news reporter because of the size of my camera. I told them, no, I'm just touring here. I'm just a tourist. So they were okay that they allowed me to take a picture. So interesting bike and two interesting characters. As you get closer to the afternoon, to the evening, they close the roads down here with the cars can't go through, and it's a lot of drinking. Po' boys, that's the term that we use for the sandwiches, what people call submarines or subs or hoagies. I grew up knowing them as po' boys, and I thought all of the United States spoke in this type of unique language and this culture with Mardi Gras and King's Cake. I thought this was everywhere, but I realized that it wasn't later after we moved out of New Orleans and we moved to Miami. Again, Iroquois Street, where we walked down from the house to the church there. This is a picture that wasn't easy. I actually had to get off the express. This is on the expressway over the overpass, and I got out of my car to take this picture fast of the Superdome. So this angle here, this shot is a unique shot. Street preacher here. He's well known. He goes preaching everywhere. I talked to him for a few minutes. When you go down there, this is these electric trains that's been there for the longest time. They're only $1 and some change. Very affordable. A lot of people take these to go get to work or travel, or tourists take them just to travel on them. This is Canal Street here. where you got a lot of shopping, you got hotels, you got restaurants, and the streets here. Some of these streets need repair. Some of the bricks, some of the tiles are coming off.
Everybody wave, shooting blow your horn. What's this?
School here, that's always stops. Property down there.
So guys, we made our way onto Louisiana Street, and this is an example again of what you would see in the Warren District. We're still kind of on the outside.
You can't tell here in the video, but maybe going too fast. But these branches of these trees are covered with beads. It's Mardi Gras. And some of these parades that go through here, and these floats, and they throw these beads, and they get caught up in these branches and these trees. You want to visit New Orleans if you're able to. It's a beautiful place. It's a very unforgettable place to visit. This building here has a history, and I can't remember who it was that lived here. But this is it was a popular building there in New Orleans. I want to say it was a haunted place, but I can't quite remember right now. I did another artwork of this building. It looks much better with what I created, HDR photography. And also of this building, this restaurant here. Did some artwork with that. But anyway, I hope you liked the video, and hopefully you got a little bit of New Orleans here. This is the there's 3 major cemeteries. These are mausoleums where generations have been buried, entire families. This statue, the hand was broken off and part of the face. I don't know if this was vandalism or how in the world can something like that break off. But some of these mausoleums have been there for decades, for a long time, and some of them are deteriorating, some are breaking down. But this is a lot of history right here. Interesting building here, huh? Notice the parking garage here where you pay on the right. They got these car elevators, so they elevate a car and the car parks underneath. And my stepfather worked in one of these. And Popeye's Chicken. Well, thank you for watching the video. This is the place where Popeye started, and a place where we used to eat every weekend. But now I became a vegetarian. So anyway, hope you liked the video, and comment. Thank you.